Thunderbolts is the film that has officially set the Marvel Cinematic Universe back into motion, and we can start using the phrase, the MCU is back. And for once now, we aren't lying. If you haven't watched Thunderbolts yet, this is a warning because there are spoilers and a lot to unpack in this video, including the post-credit scene where Marvel has basically spoiled the ending of the Fantastic Four film. First, let's talk about the film's structure. The overall structure of the film is great, and it leads you into this understanding of the unknown. You are thrown into this story of Valentina working on a project with human experimentation being the reason why she's being investigated by Congress and the United States government. Therefore, for Valentina to save herself, she sends her operatives to eradicate any evidence of her unethical human experiments. These operatives being Yelena, John Walker, the Ghost/Ava, and Taskmaster. The problem is they're all sent here to take out each other, and Valentina was giving them a death sentence. However, in all the chaos, a case that was holding someone had broken out, and it was containing, well, Bob.
Oh no.
Who are you?
I'm Bob.
Who sent you, Bob?
Nobody. You were all sent?
And in 2 minutes, the incinerating fires would fill the room and kill them all. And they would all be forced to work together if they wanted to escape this compound. Now, there isn't anything wrong with the story, but the pacing did feel off with this section, which is very much still within Act 1 of the film, and it took them up around half of the film for the remaining 2 acts to still be in effect. In all honesty, I think this part could have been shorter and summed up in less time, because it felt a little bit dragged in the film. However, the director and actors do a great job of making this section feel as engaging as possible, because of the whole mystery surrounding Bob, and not knowing his origins but learning he's still as comedic as the other characters. And the 4 other characters working together was one of the funniest sections of the film, reminding me of the Guardians of the Galaxies and their team dynamic, and how it develops, which is very similar to the situation we have here. A bunch of deviant anti-heroes coming together to stop a greater evil, except for Bob, who is quite literally his first appearance in the MCU. Now in this section, we're going to talk about character development and how all these characters develop as the film goes on. Usually with Marvel characters and their writing, it hasn't been the best since the end of the Infinity Saga. I'm talking about characters like Captain Marvel. But the Thunderbolts team feels nothing like anything we've gotten before. Truly something that we would have gotten during the golden era of Marvel.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
The whole film in itself is centered around mental health and how not reaching out can lead to decisions that are chaotic and often drastic, which is how the situation with Bob turning into Sentry, but not by his own choice, but rather by the choice of Valentina telling him that he is needed and he is a god and he's a hero, a protector, was everything he wanted to hear, as no one else gave him that true value and validation that he wanted. And due to that lie and manipulation of Valentina that was uncovered, pushed him too close to the edge into becoming the Void, the embodiment of his darkness and his self-hatred, being manifested into a god you can't beat. Sentry is so well written in this film, you can see he just isn't another Rush Marvel villain to make some easy money, but a character to be studied and taken into consideration on how to align him into the MCU. And you may call the ending corny on how they literally beat him with the power of friendship, but this has a deeper message that you may be overlooking, as beating depression isn't overcome by suppressing it, but confining in the ones you can call family and friends. The rest of the Thunderbolts are really well fitted into the theme of the film, as Yelena struggles to accept who she is as she isn't happy with the person she has become, which we get pretty well into the film as it starts off with her monologue on how she drowns herself into work to avoid her darkness, and it takes someone like Alexei to remind her how much value she is to him and to others, as all it takes to feel better is to go to someone and explain to them how you feel. I mean, especially in this scene, we see how broken of a character she really is, and how all those feelings come crashing down, as stuffing it away doesn't fix it or make it better.
Fine, I will, because that's what family does.
Oh my God, stop! If you cared, you would have called. I would have heard from you. I lost my sister again, but forever. And you disappeared.
Beautiful, dear. I'm sorry. I don't know how to do this.
With Ava's and Bucky's backstory, we have common knowledge of their traumas and how it affected them mentally. But with John Walker, we get a glimpse of what really pushes him to that mental break, and he's easily one of the best written Marvel characters post-Endgame. In this film, you see his need to cover up and put up a front as being seen as this perfect person, with a loving wife and child as he lies to the people who he just met that day. And if you know his past, it makes sense why. He went from being loved and having everything to being Captain America and looked down by Bucky and Sam because he stepped up to his mantle, watched the terrorists kill his best friend, and when he gets revenge for him, he's been seen as a villain. He's been discharged from the military and seen as trash. And there's one scene I love is when Bucky outed John, exposed that his wife left him and took the child. The only person to look and care is Yelena as he looks down in disappointment as his lie that he's living comes crashing down in front of the members of the Thunderbolts. His need to be seen as a great person and a perfect American with the best life shows the same needs as Bob. He wants that validation, that need to be seen as a great man. To especially people they don't know, shows a noticeable lack of acceptance by others. And now for the final part of our video. It's time to analyze the visuals, CGI, VFX, and SFX. The visuals in the Thunderbolts, yet again, are some of the best we've seen in a while from Marvel, and they are extremely prompt in the fight sequence of Sentry. Now, are they perfect? No, but it very much displays the power of Sentry and feels aesthetically pleasing. We basically have our Superman in the universe, and I'm all for it. Alongside the color grading of the film has reflected the theme in my opinion. You get this very dark, contrasted, gloomy feel in the visuals throughout the film, and you can really see this in the scenes that are all outdoor. The skies are grey with clouds, the buildings feel dim with colour and dull of any happiness, and ironically, void of emotion, which all links to the Void. And even when they beat the Void and restore Bob to himself again, the colour doesn't change but still stays, which signifies that the Void will make a return to the MCU, maybe in Doomsday or Secret Wars. And now let's talk about the Fantastic Four scene. So in the post credits, there's actually two. First one is Alexi telling this random woman, you need to buy my Wheaties box because I'm on the cover. It's kind of funny. I do generally like Alexi's character. It's the best one I've seen in the whole of Marvel. But the next post-credit scene is very interesting, and it's actually quite differently structured to how Marvel usually does it. This post-credit scene takes place 14 months after the new Avengers are basically crowned, and it's one of the most interesting scenes that is leading up to Doomsday. And coincidentally enough, this scene is actually directed by the Russo brothers, who are the directors for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. So yeah, do with that information of what you will. But basically, we get in this scene that Sam is not happy about the new Avengers title, like most of the world is, but this team is government approved according to Yelena when she said it in the scene, and they have an ongoing occurrence happening in space. Now, do we know what this occurrence is? No. Do we know what's happening in space? Again, no, because they're all left in the dark. And the reason why that might be the case is because, well, Sam works more directly for the government and more directly knows people across the MCU, like Nick Fury and other people that are closely associated with superhero and the last Avengers film. So probably this new group of Avengers don't know anything, which just automatically does make sense. But basically, they get a new notification on their tablet and their little communications pad that there is something entering orbit and it's a possible threat. So Yelena does a little bit of a scan and they find whatever's in orbit and they zoom in on a very familiar ship. Play the scene.
But we are the Avengers. The government said so. How does Sam Wilson not understand that? Okay, if he puts together a team and then the team is called the Avengers, then who are the real Avengers?
Well, that's the question the internet has been asking, and judging by the very nasty memes that I've read, they don't think that it's us.
You know he's filed for copyright of the name?
Did he?
Mm-hmm. We're losing credibility. And now there's a huge space crisis and no one's telling us about it. Run a threat analysis. I want a full report.
Running threat analysis.
I heard about Sam Wilson. He's a dumb, litigious man, but I'm smart. I'm a smart man.
I did the dishes, though.
Satellite image populated. Extra-dimensional ship entering atmosphere.
Extra-dimensional?
Yeah, that's right. It's the Fantastic Four ship, and this already is very weird and new information that we didn't know before. Because if you are watching Thunderbolts and you saw that post-credit scene, this is before the Fantastic Four film ever came out. So the only realistic thing to actually understand is that Marvel has basically spoiled their own film. And why would they do that is the question. Well, this is directed by the Russo brothers, so maybe it's to build up anticipation for what happens in Doomsday or what could potentially happen in Doomsday, but I think it's much more deeper than that. I think whatever happened in the Fantastic Four film that comes out in July 25th, it has a direct link to what could happen in Doomsday. Because, yet again, I told you before, this is directed by the Russo brothers. Why would this scene need to be directed by a whole new set of directors if there's no need to? If there's nothing that links to this scene, it would have been directed by the normal director of Thunderbolts. But yet it was directed by the Russo brothers, meaning that whatever happened to the Fantastic Four lot, it's a direct link to what is going to happen in Doomsday. Potentially the Fantastic Four got their universe destroyed by Galactus and, well, not their universe, their Earth, but they basically brought Doom with them because something happened to that world and it's Doom's world as well. Now, I don't actually have a proper theory on what could have happened. Now, I want to remind everyone that this is just all theory, nothing I actually completely officially know. And the only way to actually know what's going to happen with Doom and Doom's character, we can only hope to see what happens in the Fantastic Four First Steps film. And that's going to be very interesting because they've already started production for Doomsday, so we already know that's in effect. And it's honestly one of the most exciting bits of Marvel. And this is just truly how back Marvel is already. I'm really excited for it. Like, I don't know how guys to tell you, when I left that cinema for Thunderbolts, there was just something in my body that was telling me, like, you gotta go watch every single film up till Secret Wars, because this is, like, the next big thing for Marvel. And I'm officially happy to say that Marvel's back. And we're going to be making a video around in the next couple of days on how Marvel is really back and what they did, and what's the next plans for it, because this is just a film covering the Thunderbolts film. I meant to say video, I always... But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the post-credit scene, and let me know what your theories are in the comments below, because, you know, this is not just all about me. You guys can go ahead and say some shit as well.